Hi guys, my name is Melanie Ludy. Welcome back to my channel. So I teach middle school science in an urban school, and middle schoolers can be a little tough with morning meeting. So today I'm going to go over my best tips and tricks for how to have a great morning meeting, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. My biggest tip for morning meeting is have a plan. So every week is the same for me, I just vary the details. So we always make a to-do list on Monday. We always answer fun questions on Tuesday, but every week I will change the questions. Wednesday we play a game. On Friday we fill out a check-in form about how our week went. Every week is the same, so then I'm in a routine, the kids are in a routine, and that kind of provides a lot of stability to the morning. It also makes sure that I always have a plan for what's going on. I'm never just showing up and just sit there for 10 minutes. The easiest days to probably get started with are Mondays and Fridays. So Mondays, make your to-do list. How was your weekend? Fridays, what are you gonna do this weekend? How did you do with your to-do list? The check-in, check-out of Monday, Friday, very easy to plan out, and it doesn't really take a lot of effort on your part. So on Fridays, I have my kids fill out a check-in form. I just have it automated in Google. I go through their responses as they fill it out on Fridays, and I just kind of make sure I'm checking in with those kids in a formal way, but also a private way. So they don't have to send it to me in the chat. They don't have to talk to me after class. It's very private, and I feel like I get better responses from my kids that way. I'm also gonna link a website that I found of a ton of check-in questions. Choose what works best for you. On Tuesdays, I do my fun discussion questions, and I recommend you do this as well. This is a great way to break the ice with your middle school kids. Also, they can really start to have opinions about a lot of these things, and it gets a lot of dialogue going. So one of the questions I recently asked was, is cereal a soup? And I had a lot of kids arguing back and forth with me and their classmates about it, but that's the point. They were having a dialogue, they were interacting with them, which in virtual is awesome to have. I generally find my questions by just typing in fun questions for middle schoolers. I get a bunch of lists curated by a ton of free websites, and I just go through and I pick about 3 because my morning meeting's about 15 minutes. But sometimes I get through them all, sometimes they aren't all gotten through, and then I'll bring up another one on Friday. Really just kind of be flexible with this, have an extra one in your back pocket just in case. On Wednesdays, I do games. So Kahoot is discouraged from being used for my school for academic things, but for a morning meeting, it is 100% the way to go. My kids love Kahoot. If you haven't played, it's like a trivia kind of thing, and they can log in from their phones. So you would project on screen the questions and the answer choices. They select the answer on their phone or their device, and then it tallies up who answered first with speed and the streak. And then at the end, there's a winner's podium. So my kids absolutely love it, and it takes almost zero effort on my part. I generally just kind of raid the supply of Kahoots that are already pre-made, and I go from there. Sometimes I will make my own, specifically if I'm doing academic ones, but if it's just a trivia thing for my morning meeting, absolutely just gonna raid the stash. There's also Scribble, which is like an online Pictionary. That one, I will tell you, takes a lot more time. So if you have like a longer meeting, like a half hour on a Friday or something, that would be the time to use Scribble. But it is a blast to pay that as well. I did that a lot in the spring when we had longer meetings, and the kids loved it. There's also the basic Hangman. Don't discount any kind of game you can think of. They love to play games, and they don't have that time during school hours. So use your morning meeting to your advantage. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is current events and holidays. So Valentine's Day is coming up. Maybe you want to do a Valentine's Day themed Kahoot. Maybe you want to have kids write positive notes to each other during that week. I have in the past have kids cut out tons of paper hearts and then they write compliments to their friends or to other teachers, and then I stick them all over my door. I loved doing that when we were in building, and I'm really sad I won't get to do it this year. But a way I'm going to do it virtually this year is I'm going to have my kids send those compliments to emails virtually, and then just put me in the blind copy, carbon copy, the BCC. So then the recipient doesn't know I'm getting tagged, but I do, and then I can give those kids extra credit like I normally would. Other thing with current events, sometimes serious things happen in the school. Like there's a big bullying event, someone gets expelled. Sometimes we get a new principal. Big events that happen in the school or in the area you're in. Sometimes you need a morning meeting to kind of talk about those. So make sure if that's coming up or if that happens, you save time to talk about it. Even if you just open up the floor to discuss thoughts or to people to share their ideas, a lot of times that'll get the conversation going, and they'll really be happy that they had that time to discuss it with you and their classmates. Another thing I want to mention along that vein is always have the first couple minutes open for sharing. So with my morning meeting right now, I generally have kids trickle in the first 3-4 minutes. So I have it up that if you want to share anything, do that while I'm waiting for people to trickle in. They can put it publicly in the chat. They can send it privately just to me, however they want to do it. But I always like to leave it open in case someone really has something they need to talk about or they want to talk about, so that we can talk about it as a group so that nobody ever feels like their voice isn't heard. Overall, though, my biggest tip is be flexible. Things are going to happen. You're going to have a fire drill when we're in building. There's going to be an emergency assembly. There's going to be a current event that disrupts your morning meeting. Understand that those things are going to happen, but try and be prepared and pretend like it's a normal day anyway. A lot of the times your morning meeting that you had planned out can be saved for a later day. Another thing I would encourage you to do is have meeting rules. So like have rules about how many people speak at once. Have rules about how we speak to each other. And go over those rules frequently. Now, they don't have to be terribly complicated, and I would not recommend more than 3 or 4 rules, especially at middle school, even less for elementary. But just having those kind of ways of like, we talk to each other nicely, one person speaks at a time, those would be great things to have in mind. So we set that kind of initial boundary of respect across the board. One of my favorite ways to help enforce those rules in building was having students read them, but also having like a tennis ball that the kids could throw around. Whoever had the ball was the person who got to speak. And that was a very clear signifier of whose turn it is to talk, what are we talking about, and who gets to go. Because a lot of times my kids would like to speak over each other, and not because they're rude, they didn't know whose turn it was. So this helps to kind of eliminate those issues to make sure we know who's speaking and to kind of try and give everybody a fair shot. My last tip is I wouldn't grade your morning meeting. So at one point I tried to give dojo points to my kids who would participate in morning meeting to try and get more kids involved. And like then they could trade in those points for like a homework pass, or they get to have their camera off for one of my science classes. The thing is, I feel like only the same 5 kids participate now because they're the only ones who are motivated by the points. And I bring up the points frequently, but I feel like when I had it just everybody has to participate, I got more kids to participate on a regular basis. So I would caution you against incentivizing any part of morning meeting. And my last and final tip is have fun with it. Your kids want to know you. They want to connect with you, and they want to connect with each other. So you got to bring a lot of your personality to morning meeting. So I'll have kids write the great things they did this weekend, and I'll comment on it. Sky Zone sounds like so much fun. What did you do? Whose birthday party did you go to? Whose house did you sleep over? I don't know about hot wings for breakfast. I'm more of a pizza for breakfast kind of person. Get into it, respond to their comments, respond to what they're saying. You are a very big part of this community, and you set the standard for how you're going to interact with the kids and how they interact with each other. Be involved and have fun. All right, guys, that'll do it for my tips on how to have a great morning meeting. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.